All right, good evening to all of you. We're going to start our meeting for this evening. I want to welcome all of you to our general meeting here of Thursday, September 26th. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have acceptance of the agenda, rules of order, follow-up from the last general meeting of June 27th. We have a presentation this evening on OPG agreement amendment. We'll provide an update on the appeals for the Dundee. We'll also do an introduction of the Akwesasne Police Commission members to the community. And then we'll take business from the floor, have a resolution, and we'll do a few announcements. So that's the agenda for this evening. Are there any additions or deletions? And so noted. Can I have a mover to accept the agenda? Moved by Carolyn, second by Toby. All in favor? All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we have three members of council who are not here this evening. That is Tim, April, and Julie, who are all on travel for council, so they send their regrets. We have a cancellation protocol that we put in place in 2015-2016 that calls for a moment of silence for members that we have lost from since the last general meeting. So in recognition of the members that we have lost in the last 3 months, I will ask for a moment of silence now. All right, thank you very much. And on behalf of myself and council, we extend our deepest condolences to those who have been affected by loss over the last few months since the last general meeting. All right, so I will read the rules of order for this evening's general meeting. So we will start at approximately 6 p.m. and we will go till about 8 p.m., at which point we will assess whether or not the conversation is continuing to go past 8 p.m. Personal issues will not be dealt with in this forum, in this public forum. We ask that personal issues be dealt with on a one-to-one. We can make an appointment or have a conversation with myself or other members of council outside of the meeting. We ask that you please raise your hands to ask questions of council. We ask that you please remain respectful of other members here, including council as well. Please wait to be acknowledged by myself or the chairperson before speaking. As well, we ask that you please keep your questions relevant to the discussion item we're having or the presentation. There is a time at the end of the general meeting, which is business from the floor, that we will talk about issues abroad. As well, if there are any items that we can't answer this evening or items that need to be followed up on, we'll make a list of them and we'll report them back to you at the next general meeting. The general meetings are recorded, so we ask that you please not identify MCA employees by name. Please use the position or a worker of the MCA simply because they are not here to answer to that. As well, please try not to identify members that are in the audience. The camera is recorded from the front forward, so only council can be seen, but that's to televise to other members who are not available. It's recorded, it's not live, but please be respectful of that. So that is our rules of order for this evening's general meeting. I will now go through the follow-up items from the June 27th general meeting. So we did have a 2-month break for the summer. We are reconvening our general meetings now here in the fall until going forward. So of the general meeting of June 27th, there was a follow-up with the Chief of Police regarding a press release of the Police Commission members. So that has been attached here, which does identify who those members are for the Police Commission. As well, we have invited them here this evening to introduce themselves to you, the community. So that item has been followed up on. There was a question raised at the last general meeting in regards to the 10-year grant. There has been a series of information meetings on the Akwesasne Financial Administration Law, and through those conversations, the community asked what the difference was in the existing funding agreement and in the new proposed. So there is a briefing note that is included in your packages that identifies what the funding, 2 different funding models look like. So that is provided to you at the request of the community. Also, at the last general meeting of June 27th, there was a request of how many port runners there has been annually at the Port of Cornwall. So this is part of the conversations and updates we've been giving with respect to the Cornwall Port of Entry. We have informed the community that there was, knock on wood, an increase of port runners, and that there's a real safety concern related to vehicles speeding off from the customs at a high rate of speed. So we have provided those stats here. So there's 125 port runners nationally. That's all ports of entry by land, and 11 of them are in Cornwall. So that's about just around 10% of all national port running. So that was requested, and we have provided that. That information was provided to us by CBSA. And the last item on the follow-up from the June 27 general meeting is to research options on land disputes. So at the last general meeting, we had lots of conversations about the ongoing land disputes that exist in the community, whether it be between ownership or rights of way or land lines, succession, you name it, that results in a land dispute. We had lots of conversation on that. There was a request for council to identify what some of the options may be. So the portfolios are working on that. The report is not available yet, but we will continue to work towards having a report to you as what some options may be for the Mohawk Council and community to consider to mitigate some of those disputes. So that is our follow-up items from June 27th. Are there any questions in relation to any of that? I see no questions, so we'll move on. So this evening's presentation will be done by Mr. Philip Whitecree, who is a member of our Aboriginal Rights and Research Office. Will be provided a PowerPoint presentation, which is available to you as well at the back of the room. Mr. Philip Whitecree will outline what the purpose of this presentation is, so I will turn it over to you.
Here from the Aboriginal Rights and Research Office to give a presentation on the OPG agreement amendment. So the OPG Islands historically were part of the community, and then during this Seaway expropriation and part of the Seaway proceedings, Ontario Power Generation OPG settlement in 2008 assured that the islands will be returned back to Akwesasne. There was a community referendum for that. On October 2nd, 2008, a past agreement's final settlement agreement was signed between the Mohawks of Akwesasne and Ontario Power Generation, resolving virtually all the claims of the Mohawks of Akwesasne in respect to the power project itself. But the rest of the grievances continue with the Seaway claim. The islands were expropriated for Seaway construction and included Sheik Island, Adams Island, Toussaint, and Presqu'île Islands. So this is what they look like. They're upstream from the dam. So you have Sheik Island, Adams Island, Toussaint, and Presqu'île. Current status is between Aero and OBS. We're working together with an ATR working group. We provide technical support for the historical, archaeological, and cultural components of the ATR process. The environmental assessments and surveys are still ongoing, waiting on surveys to be approved by different parties. Identification for lands for transfer is responsibility of OPG. Aero does the municipal and provincial consultations, and then OBS is working on the permit structure. The issues have always been the third-party components with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans and the Ontario Power Generation. There's also NRCan, National Resource Canada, who's in charge of surveys and the survey process, and then working with OPG. Canada is not a party of the OPG settlement agreement and has caused certain issues in how that applies. The ATR policy is really designed for Canada and not necessarily for private entities who want to return lands to reserve status. So the proposed amendment will, the MCA approved the proposal to create a flooding easement at the time of the return instead of the issuance of a flooding permit. Now this stems from the actual agreement that was signed. We used one wordage, and it has been suggested to continue with, and a faster path would be to use another word, another process. So between a permit versus an easement. So a permit is issued by the Minister of Indian Affairs or Indigenous Services under the Indian Act, and the minister and everything has to get involved with this process. It's called Section 28.2 permit. does not work with the land transfers and needs to be transferred by the minister in a very lengthy process. So this is the current wordage that's in the agreement. So it is proposed to go with an easement where the rights of way is still allowed. So both parties are able to utilize as necessary, that is clearly defined, and that it does not involve the minister to be part of this process. So the easement will run with the land, and so the conveyance by OPG and its interest in the Moses Saunders Dam and related rights would automatically transfer to flooding easement without need of approval by Canada. So legal effect. The terms of the operation of the power project, there is no significant difference between the two instruments. They both serve the same functions of letting OPG to control the water levels in the Lake St. Lawrence up to the elevation of 200 feet. That was what was in the agreement. The fundamental difference is the easement option and the permit option involves the Crown's fiduciary responsibility, whether they are to be a part of this process or not. With respect to the easement option, the Crown does not have to exercise discretion subject to its fiduciary responsibility. In respect of the permit in the Crown, which the Crown normally has to, and this makes the permit option more onerous for the Crown and ultimately for MCA. So if we continue with the exact wordage that's in there, we have to follow this legal process that would involve the minister to be involved, and ideally it would lengthens this entire process. So the next steps that's proposed is in order to proceed with the creation of an easement, MCA and OPG should conclude a new supplementary agreement to the existing terms of the past agreements is final settlement agreement with OPG. At the present time, the current provisions of Section 6 is what indicates that it must be issued, the easement would be issued under the Indian Act. This could be supplemented by a simple agreement that complies with the requirements of Section 23 of the original community authorized agreement. So that is what is being proposed. It's just here to notify the community that the process that is being looked at and being entertained is to add to the existing one to basically allow the legal process to become easier for both the community and OPG to move forward with having the islands returned back to our jurisdiction as soon as possible, as opposed to getting the minister involved in one new permit process. So that is the motion.
Are there any questions on this presentation? Any comments? Yes.
Can you clarify, what was the municipal consultation in that area?
Municipal consultation is
Municipalities are consulting?
the municipalities that have claimed jurisdiction over those islands. It is part of the survey of can't remember the township that's right outside. It's not Long Sault, it's another one further along the river. So that municipality technically has it under their process, even though OPG utilizes it as is. So basically we just have to notify them that the island is being looked at becoming reserve land, and that's basically, it's just a notice to them.
Any other comments? So essentially, we are notifying the community that we will be amending the final settlement agreement to be reflective of what has been presented here. And it is because that in the agreement, we said we would use a process to return those islands to Akwesasne reserve status, and it's been 10 years and that process isn't working. So we need to amend the agreement to be able to bring those lands back faster than the process has been now. That's in a nutshell what we're going to do. Doesn't change any of the principal issues that were agreed to in the agreement that was agreed to by the community, but we've been 10 years trying to get it back to reserve status, and it's not working. Yes?
So what's your anticipated time frame to reduce the returns?
So we would anticipate, we're going to do 3 community general meetings of this presentation. Based on a solicitation of the feedback that we get, we're probably looking, another 6 to 8 months before it's amended, like officially amended, and then the process will initiate for the return. The return still likely will not be for another, it's really hard to say, but anywhere from 5 to 10 years again.
It's really case by case depending on the actual parcel in question, because everybody has to be fully aware of everything with it and then be accepting of it. So if there's one thing out of place, the whole process can become lengthier.
Yeah, you had a question? Yeah. Go ahead.
When it comes to an individual buying property on Hamilton Island, like there was a cottage for sale, would the process be faster if an individual member were buying said property to
Yeah.
return it to reserve status, or is it only
No, so Hamilton,
Hamilton.
yeah, so Hamilton Island is a reserve already, but if you were to buy land, say, off of the reserve, that are non-reserve,
Like
you
the
can,
Dundee
an individual cannot change it into reserve status on their own. They have to go through the process with the band council. Yeah. So, over here, question? Question? Cheryl?
I forgot it. I went there, but you're right. It'll come back and I'll put it up as new business.
Okay. All right, so there's no more questions on to that. I will ask Mr. Philip Whitecree also to provide us with an update as well on the appeal processes.
So I have a brief update.
I remembered it.
Oh,
Yes.
all right, go ahead.
Before I forget,
Yeah.
you mentioned the word municipalities.
Yeah.
A consultation process with those municipalities
Yeah.
out there. So if somebody here is going to go consult with them, whatever the results of those consultations and views and opinions of those sagas out there render, can we be made aware at our meetings of consultation of what they're thinking or saying about this process?
Generally, the process is basically a letter from us saying this parcel of land that you have apparent jurisdiction over will be in the process of becoming reserved land. Do you have any comment? Normally, a municipality or urban province does not have comment. If they do, we take it and then we just provide it to the submission order to Canada. So basically, it's not us having to have a full conversation. It's just us notifying them of the
Informing.
process, and they have to formally just say, we receive it, we're aware of it.
So my question
Yes.
is, can we be made aware of the
Yes,
results of that? If
we
they-
can.
Somebody out there has feedback or comment,
If
can
the-
we be made aware of what their comment was?
Yeah, if the government shares it with us, what people are saying to them,
Correct.
and they share it with us, we can share it with you. I will say though that at this time, we haven't run into that situation. We are in additions to reserve process, but all of those lands are within the existing reserve. So there's no, they're not gonna notify, they would have, even if they notified, say, the township of Cornwall or anywhere else, they would have no interest in land in the middle of Cornwall. We have not done additions to reserve outside of the reserve compound. But yes, so if we do receive comments back, we will let the community know what.
Thank you.
Final comments before we move on? Okay.
All right, so the brief update is without prejudice and not for general public or media distribution. It is solely for the information of the community members.
Okay, so that's it. Are there any questions on any of that? Yes.
Sorry, I wasn't there for the OPG. Where are we on the items?
Still resolving survey issues. But we are working on a process to go through an easement process that would bypass the permit issue that is required for Canada administrative.
We can have a conversation offline since we were a few minutes late and we were well underway.
Sorry.
Or we'll get you the link. You can watch tomorrow. So the other item that we're going to cover this evening is we wanted to introduce, one of the things we want to do this evening is introduce who the Akwesasne Police Commission members are. We, at previous meetings, had lots of conversations about boards, committees, and commissions of the Mohawk Council, and we wanted to bring those individuals at least to the community and so they can put a face to a name and you know, have an opportunity to have conversations outside of the meeting about, you know, areas of whatever their responsibilities are. So, excuse me, I apologize, Philip. Thank you very much for the great job on the presentation. As always, you do a really good job for us in projecting all the information needed. So, so I'm going to ask Chief Darrell Azor if he would just introduce some of the Akwesasne Police Commission members. We have invited some of them here. Some of them have shown, have come out to join us this evening. Not all of them are here, but he will take it from here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Like Grand Chief said, we had a call-out. We selected all our new police commissioners. Kawehno, we have Gary Cole, which is the commissioner chair. Donna Delorme, if she's present. Donna, please stand. From Snaihne, we have Esther Jock. And Caroline Peters. From Kana, we have Joanne Jackson and Janine Hall. Janine's present. In addition, public safety portfolio is me, myself, and Chief Connie's the co-chair, and we have, what's her name? Vanessa Adams as co-chair, also as portfolio holder. Joanne Swamp is the recording secretary, so. That's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the commission. They can answer any questions you have.
All right, so those are the commission members for the Akwesasne Police Commission. Those members are appointed by council to sit on the commission after a community call-out process is done. So next month we'll try to bring another commission to the meeting to introduce them to you. But if there are any questions, you're more than welcome to approach them or any member of council or the portfolio in regards to the Akwesasne Police Commission. All right, so moving along, we're just steaming away here, but we have lots of time now for business from the floor. So I will ask if there are any members in attendance this evening that want to discuss any issues abroad with council. Let me know. Yes, sir.
I have a burning question that I've had for several months now, and this question I want to ask of every chief here in attendance today, just to give me a simple yes or no. The burning question I have is that does Mohawk Council support the Akwesasne powwow? And I'll start over here with Chief Lazor. Simple yes or no. Do you support the Akwesasne powwow?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then it kind of begs the next question as to the level of support, if we have consensus amongst the chiefs who are sitting here, as to the level of support that we usually attain from Mohawk Council. In the years past, we've had quite support from all of council, and it seems to running in cycles of every 5 years. So I don't know if it's depending on who's sitting in council, because we have we have a lot of new people here, but it seems to run in every 5 years. We seem to have some situations here. Just to share some information with those who are not familiar with it, the Akwesasne powwow happens on the island every year, and Mohawk Council provides support in the past financially, and from my information, that was from the revenues from Casino Rama and the profit sharing agreement that was made with all First Nations in Ontario. And so in the past, the Akwesasne powwow received support to the tune of $10,000 to run the powwow. And in years past, the number has been declining extensively to the point now where we're at $5,000. But in the same context, the council is now charging the Akwesasne powwow $5,000, $500 rent to use the powwow grounds. So they're giving $5,000 and you're taking $5,000. So, well, actually $5,500 because of security deposit. So you're robbing from Peter to pay Paul. So it's a wash for Mohawk Council. And here we have all of the chiefs in attendance saying, yes, we support it, but funding is coming in and going out at the same rate. In the past, we had, as I said, we've had $10,000 support, which was great. The cost to run the event is in excess of $157,000. Okay? And of that, the majority of it is actually attained through sponsorship. And for those who've attended the powwow, you see on the wall, there's all the placards that are hanging there. All of those are sponsors, the corporate sponsors, they're local sponsors who provide support to the powwow. Their funding that they support go directly to the dancers and to the drums. We make no money off of that. The local businesses here that are receiving revenues from the powwow are your local artisans, your beaters, your painters. One of the local businesses I spoke to over the weekend about our issue, he said in the half day that he was open, he made in excess of $10,000, a local petroleum dealer. So the revenue that's brought into this community is felt throughout the community. So my second question I have is that as part of the $4.1 million annual funding that comes to Mohawk Council from Casino Rama, there are 5 areas in which the funding is to be allocated to. In Appendix 3, Schedule 9 of the document that from the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership 2008, the reporting documentation that which Mohawk Council's signature to, there are 6 areas in which that funding is supposed to be go towards. One is community development. The other is health, education, economic development, cultural development, and permitted interim investments. The cultural development component was the one that previous council utilized to free up the $10,000 that supported it. So at this point, I'm looking to see if I can have access or information as to how those monies are now distributed amongst those 5 different areas, as well as the committees that were involved in the division of those funds. Is that possible to get?
Absolutely, yes, because we file an audit every year that breaks down exactly those 5 categories and how much was spent in each area.
Okay.
So it's very, very ready.
Now, can council or members of council explain to me the change in the rent that was asked of the Akwesasne Powwow Committee? We had agreed at first, when we first started the event, in 20 years ago, or 19 years ago, it was an exchange in kind. We put Mohawk Council front page, front center page, you got the color page, we did everything, so it was an exchange. And then that exchange started going down, diminishing. And then to the point now where you're asking us for money. And having canvassed and spoken to other organizations that hold huge events at Kawehno, okay, the largest events that go on, President's Cup, all of these entities that go on, the most that was ever charged was $750. So that justification of $750 to the Akwesasne powwow being charged $5,000, I would like to have the answer to that.
So I don't have the answer right off. We can surely get the breakdown. I don't think that that's all entirely accurate though, because I do know that some of the big tournaments, a percentage of the door sales is returned from the Mohawk Council. And I think that given some of the magnitude of some of the tournaments we've had, it has exceeded quite a bit. The total contribution to the arena, I think, is over $5,000. So maybe a base fee and then a percentage. And I want to say somewhere upwards around $7,000 has been generated on various events that are quite large.
So
but we can get that information, absolutely, because those are revenues that are generated for the arena.
I didn't talk about the revenue share, I said just the rent of the facility. Revenue share, I understand, that's a whole different component, okay? We talk about just renting the facility. I rent the facility here, there's a set cost.
Do you want to add a comment to that?
Yeah, so I'm new to XChef. I just got on the portfolio a couple months ago, and from my understanding, because I asked for history and a breakdown as to the changes and all that, your organization has only been paying $1,000 in rent for the past 19 years, and no other event organization gets that rate. Like even our youth sports events, like the minor hockey that holds a tournament there all weekend, they pay about $7,000 to rent the facility. So it's not about...
That's for an entire season.
No.
We get it for 2 days.
I was told that it was for the weekend. That was the response that I was giving when I questioned. So we can look more into it and confirm, but that's what I was told, and that's information that I've been going off. And it's not to punish the powwow committee at all. It's about making it equal and fair for all groups and all organizations, because our youth groups don't get that much of a discount on the arena. It's a deficit facility. You know, like it costs us money to have it every year to run it. So we're looking more at leveling it for all organizations, like a standard fee, and then...
And that will be on the back of all the organizations that run or host events in Akwesasne.
Well, like I said, the fee has been raised over the years for the other ones. Your event is the only one that hasn't been. That's my understanding and my knowledge of the history that I was given. So it's more about, yeah, making it even for all groups, because right now it's not necessarily. So that's why they looked at a set rate and all that, and have been looking at trying to make it an equal rental fee for everyone, regardless if it's a youth group or an elder, just to kind of give it a fair playing ground. And also to help, you know, cover some of the costs of actually running that big building and everything that goes with it.
The cost of running the facility with the staff that's there, and also not to mention the revenue that the concession stand makes. They make off handsomely on
Actually,
that.
the concession stand is now run by our minor hockey sports and all that. It's now being given to them as an opportunity to raise funds for their organizations. We don't manage the concession on a Mohawk council anymore.
Okay. Well, that's the hat that was hung on before.
Yeah.
That Mohawk Council, the arena was using that as a funding generator. So they made their money on the concessions. If we went inside, everybody was in that arena. Okay, so those are some questions that I have.
Did you want to speak as well, or are you good?
No, pretty good on the same stuff.
Was there a question in the community?
Yes, quick question. Is there a policy that speaks to all renters? If there is,
Well, so
can we have that available?
we would have to look, I mean, there would be ice rentals, and I think that, you know, in comparison, let's just step back a bit. The ice rental, if there was ice in there, a floor time rental is probably quite significant, because the powwow comes in the day before, if not 2 days before, uses the grounds. Whether or not they rent it out during that time, I'm not sure. So there could be a dollar value in the lost time for the floor. What that equals, I'm not sure. I mean, that's assuming that it's rented from, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think. We can, that would be the policy that exists for floor rentals. Ground rentals, I would have to look into it.
The timing of the
Right now,
follow-up.
you don't know if there's a policy for the grounds.
No.
And if there is none. it
So
probably
I will
needs to
tell
be
you, I'll
done.
give you a bit of context. I haven't been around forever, but this conversation comes up all the time, right? And it was $5,000. It's gone down. It went up to $10,000. It's back down to $5,000. I can tell you, there's always been scrutiny on this. Not one individual member of council. It's just, people have said you're paying for this money to the powwow, and it's not about we don't support the powwow. It's not about we don't support cultural events. It's it's about to a certain degree the dollar value. $2 event, $2-day event, excuse me, for $10,000, $5,000, a day that we're given. The other thing that has come across in the last little while, over the last couple of years, is liability, right? So before the powwow didn't have to get insurance to use our grounds. Now they do, right? That was because of liability. So the other thing is the liability for the grounds and the organization, so that kind of drives the cost up as well. I'm not saying that 5,000 that we charge, or I believe it was actually 2,500 this year, is justifiable. So these are just things, and it's, the cost. There's some in-kind contributions. We have employees there, so council looks at all of these things. The powwow has been borrowing our generators for the last several years. Those are MCA assets, so council's been thinking about this. The other thing is, and I'm just going to put it out there, is that, $160,000 for a 2-day event, who signs off on those checks? And what accountability is to the community for that money, right? Council looks at this. This is $10,000 of your money going into an organization. Are they being accountable to all of you? This is the thoughts that have been going on for years, right? So where it lands on how much we're going to contribute and how we support it, you're right, it changes. It does. I don't know if it's in 5-year cycles, but it goes up and down. I just want you to understand.
If the council makes a request to the committee to see the books for transparency, that's always been available. The ask has never been there.
I can tell you that in my time on council, we have got reports, but it only shows expenses. It doesn't show revenues. And the reports that we get through the community fund only shows for the money that we have contributed, not for the entire books of the powwow. So that's.
Has there been an ask?
There has been in the past.
For
Has recently?
transparency of all of the books.
But it's not necessarily just to us, right? It's to the community. $10,000 goes to the powwow. That's community money. So, the MCA can ask for it, but it's more, I think, that it's being to the community if they're comfortable. I'm not singling this organization out. I'm telling you what the conversations have been, and it's not, it's a lot of these factors have been considerations around the $5,000, $10,000 contribution to the powwow. So, I mean, we have just under 1 year to figure out how that's going to work, and we're more than happy and open to sit down and have those conversations about liability, usage, fees, transparency. We arguably have 10 months to do that.
You talk about the generators, use of the generators. We've had our mechanic who works on them when they're brought down. One this year was brought down broken. Didn't run. So we have to go and hire a mechanic to actually get it operational, because as soon as the food vendors arrive, it becomes a public safety issue. Food's on site, and they need electricity to keep it cool.
Yeah.
So that was our response. So if we're getting items in kind, okay, at least they should be in operational form.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't disagree. I'm just sharing with you some of the conversations that we've had, or the things I've had over the years, and that's really what's going on.
And we're more than open to meet with council if you'd like to look at the whole component. That's fine.
Let's not wait until 2 months before the powwow. We have lots of time now.
2 months.
Before the powwow.
4 days before Labor Day.
Well, exactly.
We got at least
so
agreement.
somebody
That's
dropped
at
the
$5,000.
Let's not wait 4 days before the powwow.
I agree. And I'll wait for the information.
Okay, yes, so what we will do is we'll provide the policy on the grounds rental. We can provide you, and we'll do this as an action item for the general meeting. We'll provide the information on what has been paid out of the Casino Rama dollars as far as the 5 categories you have said over the inception. In fact, council had a presentation this past Monday, what every dollar that has been spent out of Casino Rama dollars has been just generated just recently, so we can provide that.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
I remember when that started, and that was in solidarity with Kana and Akwesasne for 1990. And now it's coming to all this money, you know? That's not what it all started.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I would like to know who's on the committee and who does the committee answer to and show their books to, because yes, I would like to know what kind of monies go into and where does it go?
Yeah, and this is
Because
something.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. No, and I can tell you these are just what the conversations we have had for years. Okay, so that, is this related to that?
Who's on the committee? Who's on the committee? I'd like to know.
Myself, Larry King, Bonnie Mitchell, TJ Point, Joe Hearn, Sandra Rooks on leave of absence, Neil Perkins, I know I'm forgetting somebody else.
All right, thank
I
you.
have a question for Romaine real quick.
Yes.
Is your committee considered a nonprofit organization?
Yeah, we make no money.
But you didn't do any doing business as to get the
No.
status or something
No.
like that? Just a community committee?
Community committee, we were advised not to go down that road simply because when you have designation of a nonprofit organization, you need to have a board, and a full sitting board to dictate the running of the event.
The accountability and
The accountability,
transparency?
yeah. So at the time when it was first being done, it was, the original powwow was actually on Cook Road, our Cook Farm. And that's when I started it. I started that with Linda, Gina, and the family, and we started it down there.
Question over here?
Okay, you all said you support Powwow. How many of you attended Powwow? I was there both days, and the only chief I seen was Kana. So there's the support. Where was the people? And they don't make that much money. Most of the people that go there are young people or elders, and they don't pay. So it's not as if they're bringing this big pot of money in.
Yeah. No, and I mean, we don't think that there's a big chunk of cash at the
All
end.
three, you or kids and anybody else who's
Yeah,
on that road.
yeah. No, absolutely.
One of the other spin-offs from that are the students who volunteer. Okay, that's a requirement for them to graduate from high school. They have to get 40 hours of community service. There are students who go to that, work at that event, who actually will get in excess of 120 hours that weekend. There's a student who graduated from there who finished grade 8, just didn't get to high school. And when he got to high school, he had 120 hours. Didn't set foot in high school, he graduated over 300 hours. Okay, so that's some of the other spin-offs. Esther's talked about bringing the elders in. We have elders who are coming from Cornwall. We provide a shuttle service for people across the river to come in. Okay, an elder from Cornwall can get on the bus for free, can walk in the door for free, for 2 days of entertainment and cultural experience. Have that for free. So we don't get no money off of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. I can tell you that there's not one member of council that does not support the powwow, right? And I'm giving you some context about us, expending community money, transparency, all of the things that, council supports, and that's, for your information. I say that, we'll get these follow-up items to you. Let's have conversations before the 11th hour comes around, and figure that and work this out, because there's no doubt that, the Akwesasne powwow is a very large, successful event, brings families together, provides lots of, interaction, positive interaction, drug-free event. We support that, right? It's just, there are some concerns that have been continuously raised, and we need to work through them. Is it in relation to this? Okay, so we're gonna move on from this item. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead.
When did the chiefs change their name and sign as councilors? Was there a resolution passed to that effect, that you guys are now councilors?
No.
So why was there a document that was produced saying it's our councilors?
What kind of document?
What's that?
What kind of document?
I think it was the AFAL law
Oh, yeah.
recently. There's a page in there
Yeah.
that says councilors, and it says something, electronic signature or whatever, but it says councilors on there, every
Yeah.
one of them. So I'm like, what did you guys do?
We didn't change the name. Sometimes we get legal documents that have chief and council, or grand chief and district, or actually says chief, and when really they're supposed to be district chief, because the titles are born from the Akwesasne election law, and there's only grand chief and district chief, but people use chief. So if you want to get the technical, they should say district chief.
But I think that's important, a piece of paper sitting in the law, changing your titles, and you guys signed it.
It's
That
not,
it needs to be looked at.
we can examine that, but I'm just telling you that's not the first document.
Live on Hamilton Island. The week of September 9th, there was a change to the tonnage of the bridge from Route 2 to Hamilton Island. It used to be 20 tons and it's been downgraded to 10 tons. And this gave us, me and my neighbors, Remain and Dawn, also live on Hamilton Island. We live there year round. And I called Levac Propane because they deliver my propane, and it's getting that time of year to fill up my tank. And he said he would calculate the weight of his truck. Empty his truck is 11 tons. So he won't be able to bring me propane this winter until the bridge is fixed. We're also worried or nervous about the fire trucks. The internet's a wonderful thing, so I just check the internet for tons because I don't know the weights of things, but we do have a school bus that comes every day, Monday to Friday, twice a day, and an average school bus weighs 20 tons. So I'm afraid. The ambulance will be fine. That's only 5 tons, so that'll be fine. We do have a garbage truck and a recycling truck, and they are very heavy. They are on an average of 25 to 30 tons. How much load they're carrying before they get to me, I don't know. But primarily, without the fire truck and the propane, and well, you just had it. If the power goes out and that line truck has to come, that would be too heavy too. So we'd like to know when the bridge could be repaired to bring it back to 20-ton service. I have been in touch with OVS and DTS. They say they're working on it, but I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention.
We are aware of the situation and the dire need to repair that bridge at this point, because both involvements, the all steel is kind of deteriorating a bit. So what we're doing is we're trying to do a quick fix to get the load restrictions back to 20 tons, meaning with the support beams and well gusset plates to support the embankment, so that way we can get the 20-ton limit as soon as we can. It's because doing that will buy us time, because you all know that we're going into a reconstruction phase for that bridge. And I know your Counties Association has presented the willingness to be a partner in revamping of that roadway also.
Yes.
So it's on our priority list right now, is because we know the restrictions at 10 ton is not adequate for the residents of Hamilton Island. So we already got the design phase by a engineering consultant group And now we're going into the bidding process on who can come in there as ASAP to get this done. So just today, I received the email. He shared with me, the acting director shared with me possible contractors. He listed a couple, and I added a few more that he might try. There's even one that's right in the vicinity, being Eastern Welding, but how the bids go is how the bids will go.
Yes.
But the availability of them to do the work is also a question, but we're moving as fast as we can, and it will take time and patience on your end so that we can get it done, and I'm hoping that it'll be done before the real colder months arise. And as far as school buses and whatnot, it's unfortunate that school buses ain't crossing right now, but in Akwesasne, we take our kids where they need to be to get on buses. It's just an inconvenience at a short period of time, so just be patient with us. We are moving in this direction.
Thank you very much. I just wasn't sure. I don't have any kids. I don't put anybody on that bus. I just see the bus go by. Should I be telling the bus driver, do you look at the sign? Did you see the sign? But OVS said that's not my responsibility. So I'm just putting it out there, guys. I know you put up the sign. I know DTS put up the sign. I just think some people are blind.
Yeah.
It's just scary. When you mention liability, I don't even want to think about a bus.
Yeah.
The family moving in on a house that was just purchased, there are 4 children who will be getting on the bus on the island.
Yeah. Teresa, did you have something you want to add?
Well, just that, this pretty much is, yeah, they're going to be working on a temporary fix for now. They're hoping that'll take it through into the construction phases of the bridge.
And the new bridge, are you looking at next fiscal year or?
Well, that's.
Or does that depend on this change of in your grant?
No. DTS is working on the designs. They're going to start putting that out for tender, for request for proposals for repairing.
Wow. Well done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think to be fair to the people of this community and these districts, and not to exclude you guys on Hamilton Island, the people that live there would be our concern predominantly in my mind. But we've been asking about the roads and the priority list for a long time. And I've been at a lot of meetings asking about the road in the village on River Road. And Chief Lazar keeps saying there's a list, and it's working its way on there to have the River Road, Kawehno Street redone, because it's bad. As I said, from Snaihne Square's corner over to Blue Boys, I call it, everybody knows them, that's really bad. So, in light of what Teresa just said too, and her question of, can you get to it next year? Could we not have it made available to the community, what things are looking like, what roads are the priorities for the next year to 2 years? Because we all know, we scared each other about waiver funds for going on other roads of them. And you use the thing, we're doing patchwork. And that's good, that you're trying to do, whatever the word Vince used, piecemealing or whatever word he used, that's good. And we know there's not a lot of monies there, but it would be nice to know where our roads sit, because I could come to every meeting every month and say, I want to leave the Kawehno Road to move up as a priority over Hamilton Island. But they gave some reasons as to why they believe it should be the bridge fixed. So can we have that made available next meeting? Priorities?
Yeah, I was willing to share that today, but I bring the wrong folded up information, and I was just going to give you the priority list that we developed and strategized over, and it's got all the roads in there in question. There's already some design-ready roadways that are ready to go for funding, and what we did was we took the roads that are DTS's responsibility and council's, and then there's other responsibilities doing with infrastructure or facility repair, and there's other ones that pertain to the health department, and there's other ones that pertain to the Board of Ed. So we know what we need to do in the upper part, what to do with DTS. We've got a list of priority set, shovel-ready projects, but I can't share you the cost value on those estimates is because we've got all fairness, we have to keep that confidential until the bidding process happens. So we're also, it's in my report, we're also looking for to create some working partners with Department of Health and Department of Education to address and try and find direction to get those funding needs for our infrastructure renovation project. So it is on our list. We just got done meeting with Ann Scott on Monday. We presented some stuff to her. Every time we've had a meeting with her, she's been pretty good to us, and we get something positive out of her. What we get out of there right now at this time is not known until those talks start to happen. So we already started that, we already opened that book, and we're hoping to get some chapters completed out of that book. So.
And since you brought it up about what you said a minute ago to that other subject matter, who were these companies that you added on? Were they Oklahoma companies that you threw in this?
The ones that they had, I don't know, I'm not aware of what DTS has, but I know Point Fabrication was one of them, and any additional, because of the time frame, there's not a lot of steel fabrication outfits in Akwesasne. Only that one that I mentioned is because whenever you are welding, adding structure to a roadway, especially a designated highway, a bridge crossing or whatever, there's certain certifications you need to have, and there's certain insurances you need to have about liability before you're even allowed to touch or accept the job. And those, it's all like looking for bonded companies in Akwesasne. Do we have any? No. So we have to look for that proper certificated companies in order to do this type of structural work. So that's where we're limited. But Eastern Welding, the one I mentioned, is just Summers College. The rate right there, if it's time spent that they can get there, and this design that we're talking about, it'll probably be good for 5 years. So we might time to move forward in the infrastructure development.
All right, thank you. There's a question in the back first and then to the front.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with what Cheryl said about having our priority list presented. I know it's been asked several times now.
Yeah.
But with regard to the liability that had been mentioned for the school bus on Hamilton Island, I really think that's something that somebody on council needs to tell that school bus operation to not go on the island because of that restricted load for the safety of the children.
Well, we can communicate that to our communications department, but we have to find the people with the company that's actually school bus lines that are providing that services. And as far as your other comment, we can share that information at the next general meeting package. You know, I talk about certain things at my district meetings. Joe probably do the same. Yeah, and maybe we can have DTS do also a presentation at our next general meeting to let everybody know about our priorities and our strategies on how we're moving forward. Because in previous conversations I had with last term with the Indigenous Service Canada, I was trying to always talk about multi-year agreements. And it's very, very hard because they don't know where this money is coming from, how much they're going to get. So, and there's only so much designated toward roadways. And meeting with Ann Scott, and she did identify that as being an issue. We don't get enough. And it's very hard to go into funding arrangements with the provinces. As soon as we get it, it's going towards DTS's deficit. So we're not even seeing the positives of our negotiations on this, unless we do multi-year. But right now, we got a good funding arrangement with MTQ, that's the Ministry of Quebec, and they gave us, they're giving us $100,000 per year till 2024, and they also committed $600,000 to the priority roadway that we want to develop. So we're trying to pass an MCR to designate that to the Way La France Memorial Road, is because the only reason why we got that money was because we changed the designation of River Road to a main road, and we changed the designation to Way La France Memorial Road as evacuation road. That's after we looked at the criteria of the funding arrangements in Quebec. So we changed those roadways to fit those needs, and we got some money for it.
Okay. Joe, did you have something you want to add to this?
I just wanted to do a quick update on the Way Memorial. The board testing is done. We went to, like Vince was saying, we went to Ottawa, seen Ann Scott, put everything in front of her, and explained to her that was an emergency exit. It's the MCR, designated for that. And like the government is going to cut you a check right there. So with a plan B, working on say abandoned solution if got enough money for the materials for that bridge. That bridge is in rough shape. It's made out of wood. And as far as he told me that day, he had the money for it, and he was getting the material to replace the timber on that bridge alone. And we're trying to put like maybe a surface of asphalt on there for the winter. So we're gonna make it doable. And again, somebody was saying about the heavy trucks, heavy buses. Last year, I called the chief of police if he could give me some stuff to, the equipment to weigh the trucks. So we have data on what's coming in and what's going out, what's moving on our roads, and I said, what's the sense of building these roads if you're gonna ruin them the next day? So some of the community members took that wrong. They addressed me. They said, what are you trying to do? Arrest our trucks? I said, no, I'm collecting the weight of that truck. So I'll know how much our roads can handle. That's the thing. I explained it to them and they were good with that. So yes, the Way Memorial is on the list, priority list, the top one. We have the Ohiarí Road, and we have there's some roads in Kana that's pretty rough shape. And most of them were built in the 70s, starting at the 80s, and they're all deteriorating. So again, it's good data to have what kind of vehicles you got coming in here. And Quebec came in and they started putting the scales up. So they're willing to assist us in that. Having believe it.
Yeah, right here, yes, Ken.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, are you taking a look at within your strategy on bridge financing like you guys did with the water line? I mean, is council in a position to be able to do that and then, continue your lobbying efforts and until money is available to come back and repay?
Well,
If the roads and these issues are, is that something that you guys might be looking at, just like we did with the water line?
right now, what we're doing is, part of bridge financing is actually spending the engineer design part. And then we get reimbursed as construction happens. But if we get a promissory note, I mean, we have capital to start it, to get reimbursed later, yeah, we'll entertain that. That's always an option, but we like to spend business money first.
But is that part of your strategy?
It is part of our strategy. We got plan A, plan B.
Okay. Those are quick, yes.
Yeah, so when we're talking about repairs and the cost of everything, has anybody thought about raising the lease rates or land use fees, adding them to Hamilton Island and Stanley Island to non-equivalent people, jack them right up and make them pay for the bridge? Because they're using land we can't use, they're using land we can't go build a house on, we can't farm on, and do what the counties do to our American people. They go, you're not a person, non-Ohiarí, people who aren't considered members, because they're using Akwesasne's land. So what you do is you jack them up, charge them $20,000, $30,000 a year to use that. Pass the MCR, do it tomorrow, because then what outside people do to their counties, they make all this money on their county taxes and their land taxes, and we know if people can't pay it, well, then they lose it. And then what's the worst that can happen? They have to move, and Iohahi families who will live on a Hamilton Island and buy a house at an auction market.
Yeah.
That seems like maybe a way to get you revenue, to fix the bridge, to fix the roads, to protect the safety of the children on that island. And the people who want to live there, well, they should be paying top dollar to live there, because if you go to Toronto or Montreal, it ain't cheap to live there. Stop being so nice.
I can assure you that one of the conversation about replacing the bridge circles right around exactly what you said, right? We have potholes in St. Regis, we have Wade LaFrance's in shambles, we have unpaved roads, and now council's facing the fact of having to invest money into a road.
But you shouldn't have to.
Servicing
let them pay for it. They want to live on Akwesasne land, let them fund it.
Servicing an island that 3 to 4 of our members live on, right? I can tell you that's the conversation around this, but that island alone generates probably around $250,000 annually for the Mohawks of Akwesasne that goes into unfunded programs. So, I mean,
well, they have the money
These conversations, exactly what you're saying, I can tell you do not, happen often, right? Council is very conscious of what you're saying and making those investments there. Other ways to generate that back. Arguably though, we to a certain degree are the landlord and have an obligation to a certain degree to ensure that, our tenants can get to their property. Now there's many aspects in that, but I can tell you what you're saying. All of these people here have thought it or said it at some point, and they continue to do that.
So, if we're gonna think about the islands here, when you go camping somewhere, anywhere in Ontario, you gotta pay a camping fee. You gotta pay to go use that area. But we have non-Ohiarí people on Stanley Island boating in 30, 40 people for a weekend, setting up tents, camping out, partying all weekend. Why aren't we charging them camping rates per person? Like, that would help with a lot more underfunded programs. We really need to start looking at how much are we getting taken advantage of for land that our people can't even use, and why are we footing the bill for everything?
All right.
I also want to know why there's foundations on that island when there's supposed to be summer camps.
Over the,
Build now,
from,
ask later.
the foundations generally are not new, and the ones that are, the directives that are there is that they cannot expand the square footage. And if, foundations exist, they can replace them with existing foundations, they can't make them any. But in the past, there have been agreements by council, whether it be by all of council or individual members of council, and I'm talking, probably 20 plus years ago, for the use of that island to be the way it is, right? We've heard.
Why are they like 99-year leases or
No,
something?
they're 15-year leases that are renewed.
He's changing that?
There's been a conversation about it. Yeah.
You should.
The biggest flip side of always, Hamilton Island is identifying the lost revenues if they're all gone.
It doesn't have to be lost revenues, you just gotta revisit it and make it, if they were to go and live on Route 2 across the road, across that bridge, what's the impacts over there?
Yeah. I can tell you that there's been lots of conversations about this. It's just a matter of, yes, over here.
I just wanted to have an update on the nut track. I don't think it's on the list.
Sure. Okay. So I'll ask Philip, and I don't like doing this to staff when they're here, but we presented earlier, and this young lady came in a bit later, so if you could.
I'm sorry. Well, I was just thinking because once it goes through, I don't charge them.
Okay. Did you want the update, or did you just want to remain to it?
Well, I do want to.
Okay.
Well, I did message the page, and they asked to inquire with the portfolio.
Okay. Well, I'll ask Philip if he can. Yes.
In your report of August 12th, 2019 council meeting,
Who, mine?
yeah, yours,
Okay.
you say a proposal to sell property to council was discussed and will be further researched and reported back to council.
Saga kan Tuxton.
Yeah.
Tuxton,
I know, I just asked that.
His father, you tell us who your father is and your mother apologizes.
My mom's from Pearl Island.
Yes.
Taking a growth clubs.
He's a member of our community. I knew that, so I wouldn't have, because
He knows
my
my mother,
council
he knows
asked
who I
me.
am.
Yeah, really?
Okay.
So my question to Matt was about this, what you've got in your report. What's the process to get a proposal to council? You're trying to sell land. This is about to sell property, so I'm going to assume it's property, land. So what's the process?
Submit it in writing what your intentions are, what you have, and the parameters of it, and we will consider it.
So it doesn't go to the PAT team first?
Some do, some of them don't. Ultimately, Pat makes a recommendation to council. Council makes the decision.
Okay.
Right? So if it's land that council feels needs to be examined by the organization for growth or for a specific purpose, it'll go to the PAT team. If it's land that specifically council is interested in for expansion, a specific purpose, then council will consider.
You also put, council discussed a letter received from the fire chief. It's a simple yes or no question. Regarding the recent event at the arena and the possible overcapacity violation. What was the end result? Were they ticketed or anything?
No, there was no citations given, but there's follow-up with internally to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And then your MCRs that were passed, it says approval of Indigenous Service Canada Enhanced Housing Allocation for 30 applications. Was that a grant?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a grant.
Thanks.
Over here.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
One, just a comment, or maybe can talk to me another time. On the Nutfield track, that even on some of the signs over there, that says Indian land. So if it's Indian land and an Indian bought land there, why does that person have to pay taxes there? And will they get it back? So, I mean, you don't have to answer me right now. You can give me an appointment and commit and all that.
We'll do that. We'll make an appointment. But we will attempt to get some high-level information as follow-up. Okay?
Okay, now I want to know, every time somebody asks a question, it seems like all the programs have a hard time finding dollars. Programs are in deficit. What is the deficit of MCA?
The overall accumulated, which means everything together, there is no deficit, right?
No deficit?
No. There was, I believe, a small surplus from last year of a couple $100,000. It's either a couple $100,000 surplus or a couple $100,000 deficit. But we can make that available to you.
Okay, now my third question is, I just heard that MCA is giving themselves a raise to $75,000 each for all the chiefs. Now, I was just wondering why that wasn't brought to the community. Discuss this.
Was it true? Is it true?
The council accepted to go under new political service agreements, which were presented to the community probably before the general election, and based on what the community's feedback was, the council agreed to implement, which did increase the salaries for the council.
So I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Why would you sign an MCR capping everyone's salary that's an employee?
There's no resolution that caps everybody's salary. There has been.
Are you sure?
I'm sure
There was a recent
there
MCR
was.
signed that you capped everyone's salaries in the departments.
There was a salary review that was done about probably 8 years ago, if not 10 years ago, for all employees, and there was a policy decision made that no salaries for the Mohawk Council at that time on that grid would be over $100,000. As a result of that, there's
I'm not
always...
saying somebody makes 100,000, I'm saying your new hires, are they capped?
No, they're not. They're not. But there is a salary grid that employees are placed on based on a number of factors. Some of them may be over $100,000. But there is no resolution that says no employee can make over $100,000.
There's red circle salaries, though, right? On that red circle.
There is such a thing, it's called plateaued now, it's not called red circle. Are you finished with your questions? You had 3?
Never.
Okay. Go ahead. Here, back to you. Yeah.
So maybe I was looking at the wrong agenda, or did I miss it? You guys were talking about an update for the leads.
Yeah,
Did I miss it?
Yeah. We went through things pretty quickly before you got here. So our apologies. We can share that with you after the meeting.
Okay.
We won't send you the link on this one.
Okay.
Yes, here we go. Yeah.
The political service agreement.
Yeah.
I know there was discussion like 3 years ago, but I didn't think it had been finalized because there was some comments and questions from the community about it that hadn't yet come back. So I thought it hadn't yet been done. So when did who ratified it? When was it ratified? And was there salary levels identified in that service? I thought there were some questions on it.
Yeah, so based on the presentations that were made, which I believe there was probably 5 of them, 3 general meetings and 2 or 3 even focus meetings specifically on it, all the comments that were given were incorporated into the political services.
Was there a final presentation made on the final document?
That I don't believe so, no.
So how can we as a community member verify what we commented on was incorporated into the final document?
No presentation. All those comments were incorporated and administration proposed the agreement and council.
Well, I don't agree with how that's done because I know with the FAL there were comments made and we were told that yes, the changes were done, but in actuality they weren't. So we had said, why did it get passed when you didn't take that one section out in the preamble when we were told it was going to be taken out? And then you accepted it in principle, I think it was in principle, and then it went to community vote with that one thing still in the preamble.
So the political service agreements were led by administration and our office manager who led those and worked with the current administration to amalgamate all the changes that were in there. It was not council that did those presentations or led those development of agreements, it was administration. And with respect to the preamble in the financial administration law, which I previously stated was an oversight error. It should have come out, but we didn't catch it, right? And it's a preamble, which are non-binding, and that was complete oversight. And we already almost up to that. If we do amend it, it will come up, right? So I just want to set the record straight. So there was one in the back. Yeah. No, straight back, sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm just going back to land issue. There's a lot of people that have land that they are not able to access. It's blocked for somebody else, and a lot of these people, they will not negotiate in any terms whatsoever. And I mean, our families are growing. We need a place to build. A lot of people can't build there. So I was wondering, can you create a land tribunal to handle most of these cases? I mean, there's like over 240 land issues going on in the community in question.
Yeah, so one of the follow-up items that is on that we presented on earlier was research options for land disputes, and that would be a right-of-way issue would be one of the things that they would have to consider. So at the last general meeting, we had extensive conversation about land disputes and landlocked areas and estate disputes and all of these things related. The OBS committee is putting together options to present to the community on trying to find resolves to the issues.
Oh, also, just read your land survey, it's very expensive. You can MCA probably that cost.
For land surveys?
Yeah.
Currently, right now, we don't pay for land surveys. There has been some money in the past from Indigenous affairs that has covered land surveys, but I don't know how they've been allocated. I think they were allocated through estates. So when you have 4 owners of a lot, they've done it through that. But we can find out. We can find out what may be or what has been available for survey. Okay. There was.
Is there not a chief that works with OBS that might know that answer?
Anybody want to offer some answers? I know.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from everybody.
guys are too good to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, we did receive some land survey dollars to the Nation Building, and it was used to tie in surveys that were done in the past by a RSO, and then it needs to be done and secured by a licensed surveyor to lock it in so nobody can tamper with any bars or anything like that. If you do a land survey in the preliminary sense to cut up your property and it's not registered by a legal and registered surveyor, and then it can be altered and it can also be busted apart. So there was lots of lands that were in the territory that were sitting status quo, but they weren't in dispute. So what happened was the surveying dollars that we received, those are the ones that they took it from the RSO status and made them on a land registry with proper property bars and whatnot. So that's what that money was used for. But we are still looking at OBS, within OBS to try and get some of those surveying land monies on an annual basis to try and do either new land surveys or finish locking in what we have already that's not legal yet and registered.
Want to follow up?
This guy here that comes in, I know he's come in for probably 20 years and asking the same question. And he's here again tonight and asking the same question on the right of way of his land. And I can't understand why it's taken this many years for his property, for him to get to his property. This is not the first time I'm hearing it, and I've been here a long time. I've been hearing this at the general meetings for a long time. Why are we not helping this man?
I'm aware of the situation that he has right now, and believe me, I researched, I checked into everything, I tried to mediate, and there's just no movement. So, and right now, there's got to be alternate routes to get access to his property. And when we looked at INAC to help with the creating a new right-of-way for the individual, and they have a policy that if you access your property by water, then it's not landlocked. So they won't give any dollars to create a new right-of-way to resolve this issue. So I'm sorry to say, it could end up in court.
So are you going to help him?
Well, see, this is the thing. People don't hold our court incompetent. And every time the judgment is rendered, and then they didn't get the decision they wanted, and then they go to the outside court. So how do we win in this matter?
Okay. All right, over here.
Yes, I had a question about the police chief there, Duluth. When is his contract up?
Does anybody know?
Portfolio holders.
I believe it's November of next year he came in. So he's got 1 year left on his contract.
So if we have anybody that's going to be from here looking at taking that position?
Can we invest in someone, promote them, send them to school?
One of the issues right now is he's grooming somebody, but they're still like 5-6 years off of having the qualifications to be a chief of police, because it's a very entailed position to be a chief of police. So right now, nobody is qualified in our police station. They're almost there, but they're not at that point yet. So if we had to have a call out for a chief of police tomorrow, we would probably have to put a call out to all First Nations community like we did when we got this chief of police.
Or you can just tell them you got a year, pick it up.
Okay.
But I'm just concerned because his frame of mind isn't the same as ours as Akwesasne that live here. And that's just my concern, you know, that we're not like Canada, you know, it's Akwesasne.
So earlier in the agenda of this tonight's meeting, we introduced some of the police commission members who are still here, so they're hearing you, and if you want to have that conversation with them, because the recruitment of the chief of police is in collaboration with our administration and those commissioners. So they are,
And they're still accountable to the people, right?
that, well, yes. So they are
Because
appointed.
we've been asking since February to get that
Yeah.
commission here.
Yeah.
So we
So
could
they
ask
are-
them some questions.
We have some members here
Nobody's
today
ever
that
been here.
they've come.
Well, you
and-
guys aren't on that.
Yeah, no, there's 3 of them here, and council is very aware that we want the boards to be available to the community to address issues.
Yeah.
Okay, over here.
So, I didn't really hear his answer when the lady over there raised. So when does the council's raises go into effect? And what does the impact does it have on the budget of this year? And are you impacted on getting a raise also? Because you only use the term chiefs.
So
Shouldn't say
they-
grand chief.
So all positions receive an increase, and it starts on October 1st, I believe. And the impacts are that financially, I mean, it just been the Mohawk government budget has been adjusted to accommodate those increases.
Are you getting a raise also?
Yes.
Yourself?
Yeah.
So what did yours go to? If theirs went to 75,
118,000.
118?
Yeah. And the number was based on the percentage from the existing, from the district chiefs to what they went to. That percentage increase is the same for the grand chief.
When was the last time they got a raise?
In 2005, I believe. And prior to that was probably, had to have been 7 or 8 years before that.
So they don't do like COLA?
No. There's been cost of living adjustments, but there's been no increases per se other than cost of living. We don't classify COLA as increases because it's given to all of the employees as a cost of living increase, right? It's not a raise per se.
But you aren't employees.
No, so one of the main objectives of the political service agreements was to be able to set council as not being employees, and so they don't have that relationship as employees, because council is elected and they're not employees. So, I have, there was a question over here, you wanted to say a few things. I know you had worked on this in the previous administrations.
Yeah. So I actually was the one who gave all the presentations on the political service agreement prior to this document actually coming into effect. And what I had done was I worked really closely with the executive director at the time, and what we did was we provided the community with 6 or 7 presentations, separate presentation consultation meetings with the community, as well as 3 updates to the community at the general meetings and call-outs for further questions and comments. We also put a call-out to community members on developing a committee that would sit and review and revise the document, and I only received 2 responses. That was 3 call-outs that we had submitted to the community, and we never got anybody else interested. So following all of those presentations to the community, as well as at the general meetings, what we decided to do was take the document and put it in the hands of the administration. The chiefs had absolutely nothing to do with any of the revisions that were inserted to that document. So one of the main areas that the document does is it provides a direct and clear line between what an employee is, how they are treated within the organization, and then how our elected officials are treated in our organization. So the separation is clearly defined between council members as political elected officials, that they are not employees, and that they do not receive the same benefits as our employees do. Whereas before, the working conditions were actually designed by our human resource office, and that made it kind of hard to differentiate between an employee and an elected official because of what the document included in it, and the way it was written. So with the new political service agreement, it makes that clarification. It also, along with the increase in their salaries, it makes it very clear that they're different than employees. So I have 2 questions, one here and then over here.
You said it differentiates between them being an employer and an employee, and they don't get the same type of benefits. Now, do our politicians sitting at the table, do you get vacation time?
No.
Do you get sick time?
Well, currently we do,
right now,
but after this goes into place, we don't.
On
No sick-
October 1st, no vacation.
September
no sick
30th.
time,
September 30th.
No
Yep.
comp time.
Nope.
So you're working
Nothing.
straight salary, 75 annually.
Yep.
got set working hours, you don't have set working hours, you're
They
a
don't.
politician 24/7.
Yes. So the difference, one of the differences that I had outlined in my presentation was that in the working conditions, the way they're written right now, it states that they have working hours in an office space between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. The way the political service agreement is stated, words it now, is that there's no office hours. There are no specific set times that they have to be sitting at a desk. This had come out in a previous general meeting as well, where a community member had stated, you know, it doesn't really matter if they're sitting at a desk. What matters is the work that they're producing. So it also indicates in the political service agreement that they are required to provide the community with written reports. So these written reports encourage the council members to be more transparent with the community. So it does include a lot more requirements on them as political leaders. And I think that kind of attaches itself to the expectations that community members already have on them.
Okay, the other question here, Cheryl?
I lost it.
We'll come back.
When you talk about
Go
the
ahead.
reports, when you go away to all this training and these conferences, where are the reports about what you learned there? And what did you do there? To bring it back to us as a community so we know what you did. Because I know you've gone to training, but I don't know what you learned. I haven't seen anything.
Yep, so that's a really great question. So as Mohawk government, we actually have already created and developed these templates for the chiefs to use in these situations. So
But before that, they didn't do it.
they
But
have,
should have did it.
well, it's up to the community members to ask as well, but now with the political service agreement, it doesn't make it more of a requirement for them to do that.
Okay.
So we have these, yeah.
That being said, I commend the female chiefs sitting there who have continuously supplied reports to the community. And I noticed there ain't one male chief that submitted a report.
Hey, I
So
think
I'm glad that they're other than the grand
Thank
chief.
you.
Reports
I'm
regularly.
not sure if you're calling me a woman or if you're saying I don't.
So in commending the females, I attended a meeting here in the village for special needs, and I'd like to commend the 3 female chiefs that attended, and Chief Francis facilitated and did an excellent job. So when we talk about monies and this casino Rama dollars and where it's allocated to, I noticed there's, I think, $100,000 allocated to cultural, the language side of it. So when you have to look at how those dollars are spent and look at a powwow versus language and special needs, I understand why dollars go up and down and an organization might not get as much as they would hope for every year. But there are dollars allocated in your budgets for the drop of the overall budget every year for the 3 recreation departments. They ain't seen an increase in 15, 20 years of the 40,000 they've been getting for 15 years or whatever. So when it comes to the special needs, and I believe Carolyn mentioned she's going to do follow-up meetings after they come up with their plan, to the weight of that casino Rama dollars of where special needs are, the dollars are really needed. And I know she mentioned a lobbying strategy, but we're always going to have to run to the outside and hope to depend on their dollars for special needs. That community dollars that come here, the casino Rama, and the priorities of special needs dollars need to be revisited and looked at and increased.
All right.
Put that out there.
Thank you. Back over here.
I see Julie's not here, but anybody else, I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I missed your spiel at the beginning, my apologies. But I just want to know if you are aware that CBSA is getting rid of their Indigenous Mohawk representation on the front line, that they're all gone now. Did you know that?
So Mr. Baker, boots.
He's done. He's done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's no more. I don't know, that might be problematic. I don't know how much of a difference it was with them there. I know that they had some internal struggles there, but I just wanted you to be aware of this.
Okay.
Could possibly be an issue.
Yeah, no, recruitment of our people to there has always been something we pushed on. I mean, obviously it's a bit challenging, but
But what about when Mohawk security was there? I mean, was that like, that made a tremendous difference, I think. What's the deal? We can't have Mohawk security there again.
something to
Just to be
consider.
on premise with an office at the very least.
Yeah. Okay. Here.
Okay, I have 3 questions. My first one is, was there a trip to New Zealand by one of the chiefs? And what was the purpose, the cost, and the outcome of that trip.
Okay.
I was the one that attended that trip to New Zealand. I was invited based on a previous meeting that took place in Oklahoma at an Indigenous Intertribal Trade Investment Organization that was started prior to me getting on council. I just took on that, continued that position because it was part of the economic development portfolio. The discussions that took place there was, I was invited to speak on global trading between First Nations. More importantly was the Maori tribes that had requested that because of the reputation of the Mohawks, that what we do in our territory and basically our history. So that was why they took a keen interest in learning more. And one of the other aspects of the meeting that took place there was I met with the Ministry of Maori Development, who are taking a big position on global trade because of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement that was supposedly to go into effect, but the Trump government had kind of took the position of not supporting it, so it didn't go anywhere, which left a huge opportunity for the Maori tribes to look at exporting their commodities into Canada and the U.S. And one of the reasons why Akwesasne was identified was because of our unique jurisdiction on how we could look at exporting into the U.S. and Canada outside of the NAFTA. So it was more of a partnership to look at trade, nation-to-nation trade. So in regards to follow-up to that, there was the Minister of Global Affairs with New Zealand that's going to be in Vancouver the second week of October, which I was invited to go back, and Chief Toby is accompanying me because she's also has the ECDEP portfolio. The cost was about, I'd have to say the airline ticket was $2,400. The lodging was covered, meals were covered, other than the meals on my travel day.
So how do we done?
Well, by development, Akwesasne benefits should this pilot model work and prove forward, then the revenue generated through exporting into the U.S. to other tribes. So
when will that happen?
Well, we'll know that in October.
Okay. Your second question, please.
My second question is, okay, you're supposed to be given raises. Because you're voted in by the community, I think the community should have had a name or, you know, a say on it. Like, okay, we do believe that you guys are all worth 75,000, like, are you worth 75,000?
Yeah, well, the precedent was that the last increase did not go to the community.
Pardon?
The last increase did not go to the
I know,
community.
and that was an issue.
Yeah, and
That
the
was
one
an
big,
issue, 'cause when I was on council, and the chiefs, some of the chiefs wanted raises, they asked me to do the resolution, I said, hell no. And then at the general meeting, they had the resolution there, they said, okay, you do it.
yeah.
So I need to, I don't want no raise.
So one of the,
We took it to the community, quite a few community members, and they voted against it. So we didn't get a raise now, because we did what we were supposed to.
well, the numbers were based on the recommendation from administration, and council chose to accept it.
Administration.
Yeah.
So you are saying that the administration is, their chain of command is over you guys?
No, there was a recommendation based on the political service agreement that this dollar value be implemented, and council accepted it.
I always thought the administration was under your command.
Well,
Like the chain of command.
Well,
You're up here and then everybody else. Yes, no?
yes, that's how it is, yeah.
So,
Not administratively so, right? Administration, the MCA is the one that pays the salaries of the chief as the administration, and that they made that recommendation. You want to add something to that?
Just to add to that, so the number wasn't pulled from the air. The that number was actually after quite a bit of research and comparisons of other First Nations communities and their council members. So on the scale, it actually turned out that our chiefs and our council members were paid about, I don't even know, 20,000 less than some of other First Nations communities, even within our own sister communities. So our council members here had been paid less for longer periods of time, whereas other First Nations communities had annually raised the salaries of their chiefs. So we didn't just pick a number out of the air. We did some research, we did look into it, we did provide comparisons. And again, I do want to reiterate the fact that the chiefs did not have any say in what that final amount turned out to be. They still do not get paid the equal amounts to some of the higher paid chiefs. However, the increase did reflect quite a bit of an increase to bring them at least somewhat comparable to other First Nations communities. So.
Your third question?
My third question is the Sunshine Club, when is that going to be posted to the community?
So the council agreed to
There's a
develop,
resolution on that.
council agreed to make an Akwesasne sunshine list. So that was probably about a month and a half ago, and it will be published annually after December 31st. So after December 31st, the list will be the Akwesasne sunshine list, which will tell all of the employees of the Mohawk Council that have been paid over $100,000. And it's not, you know, it's there's quite a few. It's not 5 people like
So you'll be on there?
I will. Yes, I will be.
My
Here-
question was on her report. You said, where did they start at? What was the starting point? What are you getting paid right now a year?
Around, the chiefs are getting paid around $56,000, and that depends on whether or not they elect or opt into some of the benefits that we offer them. So pension, I can't remember what the other.
So they roughly got a $9,000 increase to the
Roughly.
$65,000.
Roughly.
And they had no say in it, because
No.
you used whatever you had.
The research. Yes.
And Abram, you went from where, 80-something to 118?
No, 96.
96 to 118?
Yeah.
Yes,
go ahead.
My question is just for Chelsea. So when you did a comparable model of other First Nations, did other First Nations have this many councilors as well that you compared them to?
There were a few, yes, that have the same number, but there are, because the chiefs are based on the population of the communities, so they're not all the same.
Yeah, I understand that. And I also understand that some of the monies that are paid are being skimmed off of our program monies for their salaries. So that's just why I'm asking. Is that not true anymore? Their money's
Not being skimmed, not skimmed. Skimmed gives but programs, departments are charged what we call a portfolio allocation. So they're charged a percentage of the chief for the cost of the chief. Chiefs.
To work for them.
Yes, yes. But there's not, like the total cost of salaries and the total cost taken from the organization is not the same. It's less, right? They take less from the organization but pay out more.
And so when you move into the new one, December 31st? Or October 1st, September 30th. Are you retaking an oath or anything to the new,
No,
yes,
no.
signing? And so the ethics law will be applicable to that?
It continues, yeah, it continues to be.
Okay, I'm just making sure that you all love the ethics law as much
Yeah.
as I do.
Okay, over here,
Okay.
yes.
Mine is, Akwesasne passed a drug law, they enacted it on June 3rd, 1999. And in section 11, the community knowledge of drug trafficking, it states 11.2, when a member, a resident in a territory, or a person employed by council has or acquires knowledge that a person or group of persons are involved in illegal activities relating to drugs, this knowledge must be conveyed in writing to the prosecutor or to the police. If the knowledge is conveyed to the police, they must then transmit it to the prosecutor. So my question is, as role models here, we all know where the drug dealers are and have been for years, maybe decades. Have any of you taken it upon yourselves to report that on behalf of the children of Akwesasne? Because it says right in there that you should be doing it. And if you're going to be signing another oath, I think
so all members of council, their oath says to uphold all of the laws of the community, and that
So
is-
have any of you ever done that, knowing where the cocaine and heroin dealers are? Have any of you ever turned them in personally?
I don't know where the drug dealers are, and I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
So how can I call the police, and I don't know where they are, so, you know, if I did, and if I observed, yes, I would.
Okay. Thank you for answering me, and thank you for being honest. But I know in Snaihne, we know who, because they're running us off the roads, and the people coming from their houses are trying to pick up our children. So I'm just wondering why nobody's reporting that for us. And also, if you're going to be signing, you know, back in the office, when we're talking about ethics here, should council maybe be considering no drug and no alcohol policy to be good role models for the rest of the community and for the children coming up, that when they look at you, they say, I want to be like them because they're living drug and alcohol free.
Even if they're on the
All right.
state side.
Yeah.
All right, Connie, you have a comment?
Thank you for your comment on the drug law. And we all know that there's a great culture in our community related to this, and that culture didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's years and years in making.
And in our last district meeting, we had a member ask us what we intended to do about it. And I said, well, you know, thank you for your comments, but we can't do it alone.
I personally
Can I
have reported drug dealers, and nothing's happened.
Can I finish? So my thing is, I know that it's difficult when we say we report and nothing happens, but what do we do beyond that? I asked that individual sitting at the district meeting if we would consider creating something like a neighborhood watch, but not be called a neighborhood watch. We have an event we're working on, hopefully by October 20th, we're going to host at the Snaihne Rec. We're in very preliminary stages of coordinating. Actually, the meeting was only last night. And one of the things we wanted to do in that is start to bring a template, just a template of what a neighborhood watch could look like, and ask the community member for their input. Tell us how you want to see it happen, because actually it's the community that's going to do it, right? How do you report it? How do you tell the difference between an activity happening and someone just getting home late at night? How do you go about getting a group of people together? How do you go about reporting it? Will there be meetings? Will we have training for people? All those things we've been sitting there talking with the Mohawk police on it. So I know that right now everybody's pointing to us and previous councils and all leaderships in this community to clean this place up. And we know it's needed. But one of the things is the leadership can't do it alone. And we keep getting the fingers pointing at us to do it. And I too, if I could prove that these people were doing it, then I would report it too. But I don't know where. When I get home at night, I'm home for the night, and I will say that because I'm literally exhausted some days. And I know you don't want to hear that. But a lot of the work gets a little bit hard on you. And I hold public safety. I hold justice. Those are hard portfolios. But we're working, the best we can do, we're working to try to get things changed. But we have to change the culture that we allowed to move into our community 20, 30 years ago. We don't look at anybody and say, we have to prove them. Because we have to be able to make the statements that go along with that. Because it has to go beyond just pointing the finger. We have to go to court. We have to let the process play out. So we have to be sure when we're doing it. So I hope that we can create something and move forward. And that's where we'll start.
Wasn't there an Eagle Watch or something?
I was told that too, and I hope those people come
And
back
they
up too.
only stopped once one community member's house burned down, that everybody just dissipated because it was a witch hunt. But they left all the other dealers in place, not to listen.
Thank you. Daryl?
One of the things is public safety portfolio. I get many calls. I mean, 7 days a week. I can get 1 or 2 calls a day regarding drugs in the community. You know, I get phone calls about boats pull into the St. Regis Bay, dropping bags off. You know, I can call the cops and You know, it's to a point now where if I call the police, the first thing the police says, are those people willing to come forward and make a statement? You know, unless you're not going to back up that statement and sign it, they won't act on it, and that's one of the issues we're having. Or when they get to where the complaint was, the individuals are already gone and they're on their way. One of the things that is happening, we do work closely with the St. Regis Mohawk tribe. When they leave the village, they are being targeted on the American portion of the res. So it is working. It might not be working as fast as we would like it, but there is something being done, and they're not catching the key players, but it is there, and they're trying. So.
Thank you. Here. Yes. No. Yes.
I hate to change the subject because it's a good discussion on drug bust. I wanted to go back to Edward when we were talking about economic development enterprise and an exchange of trading. Like what commodities are we going to be trading from here?
Well, the Maoris have been involved in a lot of agricultural products, and mainly a lot of their main exports is honey. They produce one of the top grades of honey that they've been exporting worldwide, as well as dairy products that are dehydrated into powder for processing. So there's a huge market in the United States for that. They just can't seem to get it into the country. And there's also lumber, specific lumber from their country for cabinet making and stuff like that. So there's unique opportunities in both Canada and the U.S., but they haven't been able to get to participate in this market because of the current NAFTA as well as the TPP that I spoke of earlier.
So generally it would be their products coming here, but not ours.
Well, that's the thing.
And what would we, and if, that's what my question is, what commodities do we have here? We don't.
We don't. And to be honest with you, if you look at it from a more generalized perspective, Akwesasne does not have a GDP established.
We are not.
That's right. Yeah. So if we don't have anything and another tribe that does, and if we can profit on it, then why not explore that? I mean, we talk about federal funding, provincial funding, cutbacks. Where's the offset to what we potentially could lose? Where can we gain?
Over here.
Oh,
So, are you looking to form something like what Chief Clarence Louis did out there, with an economic development corporation on its own representing that band council? His band council is small, albeit with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres. And they got a winery and everything else out there, but it's because he developed a corporation and then he thought outside the box. And now, are you looking in that realms of saying, we have a trust fund, okay, we know it's legislated through our own documents, but they still got to follow the ways. Is this the thinking you're coming from on that side of development and then start a trade business?
Yes, it is. And one of the things that I looked at from previous economic projects was Akwesasne owning its own corporation independently. You're not going to get anywhere. I've seen it. I've looked at it with this portfolio. I mean, we've looked at everything for the last 10 years. Nothing worked. When you look at developing a partnership with other indigenous tribes, forming a corporation with equal stakeholder in it, you get a lot farther and what your objective is going to be. But you can also to keep in mind, if there's risks, but in anything, there's risks in anything we do. So to start it from a pilot project perspective by starting small, we can demonstrate and see what we need to do to develop it on an economies of scale, if it would.
Okay, thank you. Over back here. When you finish your conversation, we'll take your question.
I just have a comment about not getting
It's all right, we're all over the place.
Well, you know, I almost like to hear when communities start talking about this, our drugs and alcohol issue on this reserve, because it's really bad, and it's been proven with all the violence in the community. I mean, it's really sad on how our young people are. You know, this young lady talks about this U.S. chiefs should be our example, should be role models. And I've said that forever. And when I hear a young person say that, I'm really happy to hear that because we need to be. And these aren't. But to a lot of people, me, I come to almost every meeting that he's had because I still have faith that you are working in the best interest of our community. We as a community have to trust you. But when I hear and see a chief that's getting in trouble, boy, I don't like that. You know, it just upsets me because it is a role model. And I want to trust them. When the drug and banishment law and the drug law came out, it's never been used. Oh no, one time it was used in the court, in the Mohawk court. And it was only for permission for that individual to reside on Kawehno Island. But the drug and banishment law has never been used since the day it came out because there isn't one community member, and I know chiefs say they're going to report if they see, but I don't believe that because we all know that people are dealing in this community. There's some households that have 5, 6 people in their house and they don't have jobs, but they sure have a hell of a nice car or whatever. You know, and then you see our young people, you know, and they're not making any sense. And that's not everybody, but it is some people. But for council or justice department to think that somebody in the community is going to take that drug law and report somebody, it's never going to happen because that person has to go and testify in court against that person, that alleged drug dealer. So they're going to be putting themselves at risk of harm because they're reporting that. So that, you know, we keep putting laws into place and changing our laws. We have a law that's going to change or whatever on Saturday. And there's no big changes in that law. And I just can't understand. We keep making laws, but not one of them are enforceable. And we keep saying the same thing. Everybody in the community sees the drug problem. I see it. In my job, all those years, it was sad. It's still sad today. And no, we're not expecting you as council to fix it all. We know we can't. It would be impossible for one individual to fix that. It's going to take this whole darn community because our young people are a mess. Not everyone. Young people don't take offense at what I'm saying. It's a mess. But when she said, you guys are our role models, or their role models, you are. We act like you are.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Over here. Yes, go ahead.
Just wanted to check and see with the Akwesasne Police Commission as reports from the department with regard to their statistical information. You know, how many doors did they go and knock over? How many arrests? How many successful proceedings did they accomplish? You know, whether it's quarterly, like quarterly, it's too hard to get it monthly, to see what they're doing. Because I know you call Crime Stoppers, you don't have to sign a statement, you don't have to give evidence, you can just call Crime Stoppers and say, there's a lot of activity going on right here. And then maybe 2-3 days later, you might see cops driving by. But that's, you know, our reporting. But I don't want to put my name to a statement. I don't want to go to court. I'm going to go to court for a year and a half every month. And that's why we think we call Crime Stoppers. It's available here in Akwesasne. But I don't know, from the police service, you don't see reports made public on what it is they've done. And I know we've asked our district meetings, what are police doing? What are they knocking down doors or whatever? So those are some of the things that I would like to see pushed out from the police department once in a while.
Yeah, we're here.
I know there's a report that was just submitted to us, and we have to really walk into it. I'll ask if that's something that can be put up to the, there's no names or anything, just see if that can be something that can be put.
Thank you.
So, yeah, when you had asked for that report, we did bring it the next month. And I did chat with them to say that they needed to start making that public. It was and I had another conversation with them about a month ago, asking them again to make, because it's just statistics, to say what, you know, what calls were put in and what was done with it, like just numbers and locations and things. So it's very, actually, it's pretty, it's enough to tell you what they're doing. And we said that that was what the community needed to see. And I had asked the request for monthly. I think we've been, and the truth is, I will agree with you that we have been asking for it since you had made the request. They did give me a hard copy we brought, but then I don't remember seeing it anywhere publicly. So maybe just need to work with our communications unit a little bit more on getting it out.
Okay, so if you could follow up on that, then we'll ensure that's done. So, yes, over here.
I want to finish my last question to Chief Lazar. What's going on with, I believe, the Kawehno Road as far as where they are and when there could possibly be something done to redo it? Just out of curiosity, is it this year or next year? Because it's getting worse in front of Edward Mitchell's, and this winter is coming, and it was already bad enough how bad that dip was to his Vince used a word that they were going to help with that bridge down there to re-something, and then redo something down way in the front as what do you call it, measures there to help into the real world. What's going on with that big street?
I don't believe anything's going to get done this year with it.
What's that?
I don't think anything's going to get done with it this year, but I believe they're looking at it. They're looking at how they can smoothen that out and repair it temporarily.
So this winter, if it dips bad and something happens to a car, I'll be back here saying, throw something in there.
Okay.
Temporary measure, that's the word.
Yes, here.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make note that the St. Mohawk Tribe Police provide a monthly report at every monthly meeting. And it's just like a complete breakdown of every call, every time they go to report, take someone in. Of course, no names or...
Well, it's good to know. We have 3 members of the police commission here this evening. The portfolio I've heard you, and we'll work towards getting that done. We are getting a bit late. I will entertain a few more business from the floor, and then we're going to wrap up. So in the back first, who we haven't heard from, and then we'll come back.
I got a question about attendance. My granddaughter was in a car accident this night, and she was transported to Kana. And I didn't catch the ambulance in time, but they took her further. And we're stuck with over 100 pounds on the wheels. It's not running. And both sides have tried, and this side, but they can't help us. And why were they all transported to the American side when they were both in the Canada? Because you see the gun
Okay, so I reached out and spoke to the director of health to kind of get a reasoning around this when I heard about the situation and the costs that you were incurring. And the response that I got was at that time, there was also 2 major accidents outside of Cornwall that happened there, and Cornwall would not have been able to handle all of the incoming casualties. They only had limited staff.
Because they were taken that way.
Mm-hmm. Have you reached out to our Jordan's principal navigators? Because I believe this might. Let's have a side conversation. You let me know which ones you spoke to, and I'll go through my contacts at the IFN and get a response. And because there is actually a Jordan's principal navigator coming back to the community.
October 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, October 8th, 9th, and 10th. So they'll be here available to take applications and that, and can speak to you more. But huh? Most likely the person who sent it to you, Jessica Goodman, I believe, is our IFN navigator, and another one. We have 2 Jordan's principal navigators for the community. And it covers unmet needs, and this would be one given our unique jurisdiction and how these things happen. So I can reach out to the IFN, and I'll reach out to the 2 navigators and give them a heads up and let them know that you are here in the community and that this is something that needs to be addressed.
It's not just my situation. I mean, there's a lot of other people complaining about ambulance on the American side, that tree situation where they couldn't even lift the patient. So just realizing they can't climb up the stairs. It's not safe. Some people said the families reported it, but I don't know if it was or not. It's just safety.
Was this our ambulance or the Seaway Valley? Oh, unfortunately, I can try and relay that to the tribe, but unfortunately, that's.
I wonder why they want to keep thinking that the American side.
That has to do with their billing. I just know because I used to do that at ambulance. That has to do with their billing. So they want to transport our people to the American side. It's all about billing for Seaway Valley, and they also usually refuse to bring Kawehno into Cornwall because of stuff they have in the ambulance, like Narcan, stuff like that. They can't cross with it. We had a car accident on 37, and the person was screaming and taking the Cornwall. They said, no, absolutely not. There's no other ambulance for this here. So they refuse to listen to their patient.
She said she could have been taken to Cornwall and going to Montreal or all that. But they refused to take her just alone.
It's time to look at the contract that our people have with
I mean, it's going to get straightened out, but I just wanted to do the matter in case it happens again. And then as far as the land surveys, the plot which was over here, it cost us $6,000 to get a survey. On that road situation on School Road, so I don't know how many years ago, that ditch was covered up. A lot of people on the School Road, the sewer gets backed up, my aunt's house got flooded. That waterways are blocked up, it used to be open all the time when the elders were alive and they kept that open. When that road was built, my father gave that land up. None of you probably remember that. He says, to give the land on to the School Road. That would have happened either. My daughter's septic tank is flooded in here. The whole stinks of sewer. And she can't get any help because that land is in my name. And there's a big separate surveyor that's going to cost us $12,000. And I've been bringing this up. Bishop Means. I remember what's his name. All the consultants, we read already, all the came back and we're done. We're going to crawl, I'm dig that hole. I'm just saying, it's a lot of people on that School Road that are sinking, their land is going down, but they built that road up. The land was never brought back in there. That was one of the true handshake my father said, put the land to build. But I really think that ditch needs to be opened up to that water. And all the beautiful front there, I probably know what I'm talking about.
that flooded out the neighbor's yard, so she can't have a garden. Those are real nice community.
And her basement is probably getting old now. And she runs right out of it. I think that really needs to be looked at. And the homemakers, we're raising money raised 100 and something calls for it, they all think. Yeah, I just gave us money to try to get we raised 78 calls, and I think in 6 months, they tried this up. And then they told us we were going up the cold with the railings, our front railings, everything was all cracking. So we got landscaping done, and that cost us another 23,000. Our generator that's needed there, we use it for the cooling system and heating in case something happens as an emergency. We raised the money, we got an estimate from the American side for 27,000. We just have to spin the switch on and come on. So we all got all excited and the guy that estimates it, they said it's not up to code. So when we went by code, it's 140,000. So we're tired of fundraising that much. And then they always say go local. It's the local people that goes the highest estimate. We have our own looking for it to be a big. We got a big for 78, and our local guys charged us 164. That's American. So I just want to know, I talked to a couple of people and we get some money. The trust fund has been really nice to the homemakers. We will be looking back into it, but they won't be able to cover all of it. It has to go 120,000. But it is a community building, and the ladies work hard to keep it running for a lot of things that they do for the community. So I want to put that on the table because will be coming back on our district meeting so that we're aware of what's happening here. Yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to know is there is another lady that's coming up that we deal with ambulance where they just take them to a local and it's happening the same thing.
Yeah. So we will we'll follow up on what the policy is about the Seaway ambulance to how they determine that. This is not the first time we have heard that. We obviously we're very thankful that your granddaughter's doing okay now, but obviously there's a significant cost to that, which we don't want to see to any of our community members.
I mean, there's the financial part's going to be taken care of, but if you just
No, absolutely. Well, maybe not everybody will have the same outcome of being able to get an insurance or something to pay for it. So we will look into what the policy is on how they decide that happens, right? And I think.
And I had a question that I brought up to the council, the last two councils about the land surveys. Can't we just say this is my daughter's weekend over here and own that land and it's market, so
Yeah, I mean, it's, the problem in our experience in that is that if something happens to the landowner, you know, all of a sudden, it's in somebody else's name or vice versa, right?
Well, when those others were talking, they said if you mark it and you have witnesses, that should come up.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate part is as soon as not that it happens all the time, but sometimes when people pass, people start wondering what's in it for them. Those handshake deals or what they thought are out the window because it's not on right. So that's why we've seen a lot of experiences where, those sort of things have gone bad. Not saying that it will here, but we can get housing to look at what may be available. Because the reason why you want this, the survey is an issue for many, the cost, but also what you've identified is the reason why she wants a survey so she can get some assistance to help with that home, right? And we can have a conversation, the members, about fundraising for the generator, maybe some opportunities.
And as far as your rates, I travel a lot across Canada. These guys are the lowest paid to see what you guys are doing here. I'm not saying that this was my brother's on council, but when I saw their amounts, how much they get paid I saw how much they get paid compared to what you get paid, I was like, holy crap, and we're leading all the other communities. So I'm really happy that you guys are getting away. I wanted to mention that because I know the people are going to be saying, oh, let's get the raise, and blah, 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 blah. We always complain. Why can't we all work together? Just let this protocol go. It can't be issued, guys. It's got to be the community, it's got to be the police, it's got to be the families. I work with a lot of families after the losses come. And they're all perfect. You know, it's just like right now, I have to leave right now. I have to go attend to the family. But before anybody points fingers, I think we need to look and see where we're all coming from. We're all worried. Look at the losses we had in these last couple of years. You see that homemaking, all the deaths that's happened. There's no more togetherness. Nobody stays at those weeks anymore. They're just going to the guy on walk. Going to what? They give you everything but on the phone. I needed to say that because you guys are doing a lot of good work in that community. And when people point fingers at you, you need to look, you sit behind that table and see what's happening. I see that at government levels, I see that at the political levels. And I'm really proud when I see you guys out there. I know I've mentioned it to some people in Alberta yesterday because they look up to you guys, and it's nice to hear.
I had a question about the Quebec, and I know I had brought this up in our district meetings in the past about the tax exemption opportunities, but only for Ohiarí. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to discuss that AFNQL, whether or not there's any opportunity for the Mohawks of Akwesasne to be tax exempt in Montreal area. I know that's been on there for a while, so hopefully we'll be able to look into it. I know when you go anywhere in Quebec, like Point Claire or the city of Montreal, they always say, no, we only accept cards from Mohawk. Yeah, they do. They have a special agreement. That's why I thought AFNQL, you would be able to navigate through that and see if they can open up at some point.
Yeah. Okay. We can mark that as a, did you want to respond or?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So we did attend the AFNQL last week. I'm going to go with last week. And we did have discussion on taxation there. And actually that point with Ohiarí making their agreement with Montreal came up. So the rest of the chiefs had talked about how we need to make it a focus because it was just a general discussion and people putting things forward. But we had said at that time that we need to have a focus group to start discussing how we're going to deal with that because it appears that almost every province decides whether they will give you the tax exemption or not. And Ontario does that too. You will go to Cornwall and some places give it to you and some places don't. And the chiefs in Quebec are having the same issues. It's a pick and choose whether it's going to be provided or not. So that's one of the things they wanted to pull together was a working task group of the AFNQL to start working on what that would look like. Make it a collaborative joint effort and not community efforts and making seal community agreements about making it all for the Quebec First Nation. So they are now thinking about what it could look like if they work hard on it.
All right, so we will continue to keep you updated on that as a follow-up item as well on the taxation. So we're going to now turn to the one resolution. I want to thank all of you for the discussion from the business from the floor. Who?
I had a request. I talked to Kana last night. I need a letter from you guys supporting me. I go to the hospitals to help with people who are dying, people who are sick, new transfusion for elders. I also bring bodies home from their babies. Because of the new staff turnover, I need a letter from you guys. A letter from the police that get my CPAC done. But I visit a lot lot of people in hospitals, and that's what they said, when you read the letter from you guys, so when I crossed the border, this one time, we moved in the neighbors across me and passed away. So it's just to say that I will continue my services in the hospital. I'm educated and helping the hospitals badly at the same time and colleagues.
Okay, so I sent on the health portfolio. Chief Lazar made me aware of your request this morning, so I raised that at our health portfolio meeting that we had this morning. The health director seemed a little confused that you would need a new one, given that he has a good relationship with the new management there. So he's gonna go and speak to them and make sure that it's really needed, and in the meantime, I'm gonna work and start drafting one that we'll get to council. But we were just made aware of it this morning, and we've already let them know that this is coming and different things like that, and to have the discussion separately while we do the letter, like, is this gonna be a process for the future? Is it really needed? Can we do something shorter or quicker or something like that? So we're just exploring. But we did get the request, and the letter is going to be coming.
All right, thank you for that. To accept and approve the general meeting minutes dated June 27, 2019. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Daryl, second by Carolyn. Discussion on the resolution. Further discussion? Question has been called on resolution. All in favor? Any against the resolution? None against, it's carried. All right, so that's our next our next general meeting will be on October 24th in the Snaihne district. Our district meetings are Kawehno on October 7th, Snaihne on October 15th, and Ganadago on October 21st. So on behalf of council, I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening and participating in the discussions that we have had. So could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Joel, second by Colby. All in favor? All right, thank you very much.